I was literally there. I'm literally speaking from experience. You can take my word for this. Dating as a Catholic looks so much more different than secular dating because you're gonna be exposed to a bunch of different types of dating through the media. People can say a lot. All right, people can talk the talk, but it's a lot harder to walk the walk. If you have to change the person that you are dating in order to love them or to be with them, you should not be dating them. I literally didn't even pour this drink 5 seconds ago, and the ice is already almost non-existent. This video came highly requested by a follower of mine, Purple Dove 28, so I'm really glad that I could finally get around to kind of typing out a quick bullet point and sitting down and filming this because I do think it's an important topic since, you know, dating in general is difficult, but especially teen dating. So I'm just hoping I can shine some light on this topic for you guys and also give you guys some food for thought. But before that though, I just want to remind you guys that I am a stranger on the internet. I do not know you personally. I don't know your situation or your circumstances or anything like that. So please, with this video, take what applies to you and leave what doesn't apply to you. Now, it's always great to take like advice and it's always great to have like inspiration and like all that stuff. That's great. But what I'm trying to say is like I have thousands upon thousands of people who watch these videos, and so I cannot give advice that is specific to one individual. I can really only go based off of my own personal experience and what I have gone through, and then also just generalized advice of what the church teaches and also what you should just do in general, because that's just what you should do. So just keep that in mind as we go through this video. And you know what? Something that I always like to tell you guys is when in doubt, don't be afraid to ask your priest or a trusted mentor or somebody like that. So the number one question I get is, am I against teen dating in general? Not inherently, however, I also don't really know how helpful it is to date in high school. More often than not, couples in high school end up breaking up because they go to different colleges, they mature differently, they no longer have the same priorities. A bunch of stuff can happen because you are so young in high school that in my own experience and the experience of many teenagers, usually dating in high school ends up just being a lot of drama and a lot of wasted time. Now, there are some high schoolers that are more mature for their age and they understand that the purpose of dating is to marry this person one day. But I want to remind you guys that high school sweethearts are really few and far between. There are not many, and you can't assume that you are in the minority and that you are going to be high school sweethearts. Now, I'm not saying that high school sweethearts can't happen. I'm just saying you cannot assume that it's going to be you, because so many people assume that and then they waste so many years trying to make something work that is not meant to work. I was literally there. I'm literally speaking from experience. You can take my word for this. So I'm not completely against dating in high school. I think it can teach you a lot about yourself, and I think it can teach you a lot about who you potentially do want to be with when you are old enough to be married and do all of that stuff. But I also think it requires you to be a lot more mature and then also have a plan that you both are on the same page with moving forward out of high school. I think it's really easy for high schoolers to be in a bubble where this is high school, this is my hometown, I live with mom and dad, like I don't have bills, I don't have to pay for certain things. But it doesn't stay like that forever. And I think it's really easy for us to kind of think that it will be forever. And that's just why the maturity side of things is really important, and thinking ahead and being like, is this actually something that's going to be feasible when we are actually the age of being able to get married? I also think your teens are a great time for self-discovery. Who are you? What do you like doing? What's your relationship with God like? Are there any mortal sins that you need to uproot? What are some things that you would like to work on about yourself? This is a great time to start asking these questions and to start figuring out who you want to be someday. What kind of person do you want to be someday? And start implementing habits now that will help cultivate that later in life. Now, this doesn't mean that your priorities can't change or that your hobbies won't change or that it doesn't matter. Like, things are going to change over time, but building virtue and building the good habits will set you up for success later in life and in marriage later in life. Okay, so that's basically my big sister's 2 cents. Big sister 2 cents. You guys know what I mean. Okay, I know we're talking about teen dating right now, but I want to talk about dating as a whole because it is an absolute mess these days, and I want to help you guys as best as I can to hopefully find a future spouse. And I think a great way of doing that is through our sponsor today, Sacred Spark. If you're single, dating right now can feel like a part-time job, and it can actually feel like a nightmare. I have heard many horror stories from my friends. I get it. You go on a couple dates with some people from your church, or you download an app and you start swiping through endless headshots, which often ends up in a conversation with a stranger online who only gives you like 2-word replies back. And a lot of the ways my girlfriends have described it is that it just feels empty now. Dating just feels empty, which is exactly why I want to introduce you guys to Sacred Spark. It is a revolutionary Catholic dating and matchmaking app. Now, before you roll your eyes and you go, oh, it's just another dating app, I've already seen these before, just hold your horses. Sacred Spark was not built to keep you guys scrolling forever, trying to find a spouse, all of that just to make a profit. This app was co-founded by Emily Wilson. She's wonderful. I love her to death. But the entire goal of this platform is to help you build a real offline relationship that leads to holy sacramental marriage. Let me just tell you a couple of the features that I absolutely love about this app. The first thing that stood out to me the most is the fact that they bring back tradition. You can actually invite your trusted friends and family to come and make matches for you. They can look at profiles, they can leave likes, and they can even talk to other people's matchmakers on your behalf and be like, wow, this person seems really great, like let's get these two together. I really do believe it adds this layer of community and accountability that no other dating app has that I've seen. The second thing is that I love that this app focuses on the whole person. They use voice notes and they use video prompts, so you get to actually hear somebody's personality, their humor, their voice, and their heart before you just see their photo. And the third thing, which is my personal favorite, they don't just throw you into the deep end when it comes to dating. If you are new to dating and you just don't know where to begin, there's a Dating 101, and this is a course that is coached by Emily Wilson herself, where she'll send you videos on how to properly discern dating and how to properly discern not just being a spouse, but also finding one. The most important one in there is about how to build emotional maturity, in my opinion. So anyways, if you guys are tired of the shallow swiping culture and the endless selfie pics and constantly being let down by dating, and you're ready to meet somebody who is Christ-centered and you want a spouse and you are ready to be in the dating scene and take it intentionally, Sacred Spark is for you. Stop surviving the dating scene and start thriving in it. Download the Sacred Spark app today. The link is below in my description. It is totally free, and you know what? It's time to start something good. With all that being said, let's move on and let's get back into the video. Thank you to Sacred Spark for sponsoring this video. But when it comes to keeping God at the center of your relationship, I do think it's really important to pray together, to go to mass together, to go to adoration together. Like, all of that stuff is really great stuff to do, and you should definitely set that foundation at an early stage in your relationship. But I also think something that's really helpful is just having conversations about your faith and about God. What are your struggles? Being vulnerable with that person and being able to share the things that you're overcoming in your faith or you're excited about in your faith. You know, where are you in your faith right now? Where do you want to be in your faith? All of that stuff I think can really cultivate a good foundation for a relationship if you guys can freely talk about how your faith is affecting your life, and also what vices you have and how you're working to uproot those. Just communication in general, not just about the faith, but also in your relationship, is going to be so beneficial to start with. And it's something that I definitely think teenagers don't really have the skill set of. So it's great to be able to start building the skill set of communication in your teens, because this will greatly benefit you later in life, just in general, whether it's work or school or relationships or friendships, family matters, any of that. Communication will come in handy no matter your situation. And like I said above, because we're Catholic, dating as a Catholic looks so much more different than secular dating, because you're going to be exposed to a bunch of different types of dating through the media, secular social media, but also TV shows, movies. But as Catholics, we need to be very intentional about who we date and why we're dating them, because in the secular world, it's all too common to kind of use somebody for clout or to date somebody to uphold some some sort of status. Like, a lot of people view dating as some sort of game. And before I reverted back into my faith, I was even like this a little bit because that's all I ever saw on social media and TV shows and movies. I basically would base how good a relationship was off of how jealous it made the other girls in the group. It's definitely not a good metric to go by. Don't do that, kids. But I was young, I was dumb, I made the decisions that I did because I genuinely didn't know any better. I didn't have any mentors, I didn't have anybody giving me advice. I was literally figuring all of this stuff out on my own, by myself. And when you do that type of thing, you're bound to slip up and make a lot of mistakes. And I did, so don't make the same ones I did. Anyways, the point is that I stayed in these relationships no matter how toxic or turbulent they were. Some were just boring and just were not good relationships, but in general, I was in a lot of toxic relationships because I liked the fact that it made my peers jealous, and I was bullied a lot, so it was almost like sticking it to them in a way. You know, it would just like make all the girls who didn't like me gawk and just be like, what, how did she get him, and blah 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 blah. It's so stupid looking back at it, but as a teenager, it was like a really big deal. And that's what I mean by your priorities will change as you mature and as you get older. Back then, my priority was making the people who bullied me and made me feel awful jealous and, you know, basically trying to stick it to them. Whereas now I don't really care what anybody thinks about me or what my decisions are or anything, because I have my husband, I have a great support system, I have wonderful friends. So I don't do things in order to make other people jealous or anything now. But as a teenager, I don't know, I was a little emotionally turbulent there. Anyways, like I said earlier, you want to have hard conversations in your relationship. So that means talking about kids, talking about politics, making sure you guys are on the same page when it comes to the faith. The issue with having these conversations in high school is that you guys are so young. You will probably change over time. Your opinions might change. Certain things that you thought were super important in high school, you're no longer going to find as important when you get older. And then the other side of that is maybe you just haven't even thought about any of this stuff. Like, what teenager really wants to get involved in politics or wants to think about their birth plan down the road? Like, some people don't even want kids, you know, because they're in high school, they're not thinking about that yet. But that is something that you will have to think about when you're 18, 19, 20 and you want to get married eventually and you want to have kids. So there is a little bit of that age gap where it's kind of like, okay, how much of this can you think about now and how much of it will you actually have to wait to think about later because it's just not really a priority right now. You know, I think it's really important to start thinking about these things in high school, but I don't think you have to have it all figured out, and I don't think you necessarily have to have every conversation that's difficult with the person you're dating in high school. But that's just another reason why high school dating is kind of difficult, is because you're really young. You don't know these things yet. You're still trying to figure out who you are and what you believe in and all this stuff. I mean, hopefully you have grounded morals and things of that nature implemented by your parents, but a lot can happen between high school, college, and so on. Another thing that you guys should be talking about if you're dating in high school is boundaries, especially the physical ones. You're young. Hormones go crazy. I totally get it. I was 100% there in high school. It is very, very easy to get into a situation and not think about the consequences or not think about how this might affect you guys later in life because you don't think that far ahead, and I get it. But it is really important to discuss physical boundaries. And then I guess a step up from that is also holding each other accountable if those physical boundaries start getting crossed or if somebody starts pushing against them. And I think a lot of the times it's hard because as teenagers, we want this freedom, you know, we want to do whatever we can, we trust ourselves, and we're discovering the world. And I was like that. I feel like a lot of the time I was sheltered. When I finally got the freedom of being in high school and hanging out with my friends and doing what I wanted to do, I just dove into a bunch of different things that I shouldn't have, all in the name of just like exploration and trying to discover myself. So when it came to relationships, while I, stayed a virgin for literally until I got married, which was a blessing and a miracle somehow, I definitely experimented in other ways because I just thought that's what you did in high school because that's what TV shows told me and movies told me. And now we have TV shows like Euphoria and stuff that are telling kids that drugs are normal and all this stuff and you should just do it. Anyways, I digress. The point is that boundaries are really, really important to protect your soul and the soul of the person you are dating. So if you have to at this point, avoid isolated places like bedrooms, basements, parked cars at night, just things like that. And then also you should be dressing in a way that demands respect for you. This goes for men and women. Now that doesn't mean that you can't wear a cute dress or you cannot look super good. You can do all that stuff. That's just a part of being a woman and being able to like dress up and put makeup on and do your hair. I think you should 100% go for that. But I know for a fact I used to wear specific outfits because I wanted a specific type of attention from the guys I was dating. And while intention does matter, you also have a responsibility to yourself and to the person that you are dating to not purposely tempt them or to wear things that you know are going to tempt them, basically. Since God should be at the center of your relationship, if they're belittling you or belittling your faith or trying to pull you away from God, that is a major red flag. Number 2, and we kind of talked about this just slightly earlier, but if they step on your boundaries constantly. If you have stated your boundaries clearly with them and they're just like, yeah, you know, I totally agree with that, like we should do that, but their actions prove differently and they are constantly trying to push past your boundaries and they're constantly trying to get you to do things that are contrary to your boundaries, red flag. Number 3, which kind of is a piggyback off of number 2, and that is their actions don't match their words. People can say a lot. All right, people can talk the talk, but it's a lot harder to walk the walk. They might know a lot about St. Thomas Aquinas, they might know a lot about the Summa Theologiae, they might know a lot about the Bible and church history, but what is their life actually like? Are they actually living out the gospel in their everyday life? Or are they just using their faith to flex on others and to try and appear smarter than they actually are? Basically just wearing it like a costume. It's just really important that their actions line up with their words. Number 4, being overly clingy and insecure is a huge red flag. Now, this is really hard because when you're in high school, in general, being a teenager, you're going to be insecure. You're going to have struggles with this. So I'm going to put a little nuance on here and say you can be insecure, but don't let it control you or control your relationship. And this is the perfect time to start rooting out insecurity if that is something that you struggle with. Because even though it is a part of being a teenager, those insecurities can easily follow you into adulthood and it can cause a lot of issues in relationships and friendships and just your life in general. But basically, you shouldn't be dating somebody, and you also shouldn't be saying this, but you shouldn't be dating somebody who's saying that they're gonna hurt themselves or something if you break up with them. They shouldn't be getting super angry or upset at you if you don't text them back right away. You shouldn't be dating somebody who gets really upset if you're hanging out with your friends or your family and not hanging out with them. Basically, you don't want to be with somebody who's really insecure, super clingy, super controlling. Those things often do not go away later in life unless that person genuinely has a change of heart and does something about it on their own. That is not something that you can fix or that you should be responsible for in any way. It's a very toxic type of relationship. You should not be in that type. And the 5th one, dating to convert is a huge red flag. Not only is it really, really toxic to try and change somebody, these specific relationships always end in resentment and disappointment because one person will date to convert the other person, and then when that person does not convert, the other person then gets frustrated, disappointed, irritated, resentful. If you have to change the person that you are dating in order to love them or to be with them, you should not be dating them. The person in front of you right now is the person who you should be okay marrying whenever you guys decide to get married. People change, people mature, yes, 100%, but you have to be okay with them not changing their faith. And basically you would have to be okay with them having the exact same habits they have now that they have 10 years later. Honestly, dating to change somebody or to convert somebody is probably the worst thing you can do. And I guess that's kind of more advice for later on down the road, but I know a lot of teenagers who get in their mind like, oh, well, there's this Protestant that I really, really like, and I think I'm gonna try and convert them because none of the Catholics around me I have an attraction to or something like that. That's like valid. I totally get that, but still not a good reason to try and change somebody. But yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say about this topic, but I understand that it's hard and I totally feel that. I was there not even 10 years ago, so I 100% understand where you guys are coming from, and I also have a lot of memories that I can draw from that are fairly fresh and recent that I can be like, oh yeah, maybe this would be helpful or maybe that would be helpful. But while you're in high school, it is very unlikely that you are going to meet the person you will marry. Again, like I said, don't assume you guys are in the minority of high school sweethearts. And also don't settle for someone thinking, oh, well, later it'll be different. Down the road, it'll be different. When we're married, it'll be different. It's not gonna be different. Marriage does not magically fix anything. Actually, what it does is it helps your wounds to touch, and it also helps magnify any issues you're already struggling with. And that is something that you have to prepare for and that you have to work through. And it's great to be able to do that work now than later in life. Because I did fall into that trap of trying to settle. And while I am very glad that God met me where I was and he didn't allow me to do that, I wasted a lot of time and a lot of energy on something that just clearly was not meant to be, because I did think I was in that minority of marrying my high school sweetheart. Of course, this is all easier said than done. I don't expect you guys to have it all figured out. I don't expect you guys to not make mistakes, but I understand that, you know, this is a really crazy time, a really exciting time for you guys. High school is kind of where you get that first taste of freedom and you guys get to decide things for yourself. And then soon you're going to go off to college and all of that stuff. But I'm really hoping that this video kind of just gave you some food for thought. And, you know, again, like I said, take certain things with a grain of salt. But I genuinely am just offering this advice to hopefully save you some heartbreak. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that, okay, again, this is easier said than done. When you break up with somebody in high school, try to view it as a blessing that is projecting you in the direction of the person you are eventually going to marry. That is, if you are called to marriage, this would also be a great time to discern if you are called to religious life or consecrated single life. But feel the feelings of the breakup, eat some ice cream, call your best friend, do what you need to do, unless it's self-destructive. Don't do that. But when it comes to dating, having the mindset of God has something better planned for me whenever something doesn't go the way that you think it should go, it's going to be a lifesaver. And honestly, in general, it's going to be a lifesaver in life to just have that mentality. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And don't forget to check out Immaculate Blessed in the description, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!